Being a Rotarian is now even more rewarding. Rotary Global Rewards, our member benefit program, offers discounts you can use every day and helps Rotarians do what they do best: give back. The good you do comes back to you. Rotary Global Rewards. Find out more at rotary.org/myrotary.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome this afternoon to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. We're so glad to have you today. We have a great program in store. To get us started, Elaine Moore-Jones will give our invocation and lead us in the pledge. We will not have club singing because we have a very special presentation today, and then past President Matt Davis will introduce the visitors. So, Elaine, if you will make your way up to lead us in our invocation to get our meeting started, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Please join me in prayer. O God of our lives, with gratitude we realize you are also the God of new beginnings. Each new year and each day is a new beginning, a new day to begin afresh, to put away bad habits, thoughts, and actions, and to act with positive purpose. Challenge us, O God, to live with purpose, to grant us wisdom and grant us courage to face each new day. Oh God, just today we are saddened to learn of police workers, of polio workers around the world are under siege. Give us the courage to face those that do not understand our mission and the wisdom to reach out, to continue to reach out in the face of this adversity. Amen. And please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Boy, lost it entirely. There we go. Welcome to Club 2500, District 6110. We have a number of visitors today, so I want to go through them very quickly. First, Katie Johnson has two guests, Tammy Maloney and Barbara Allen, if you'll please stand. Thank you. And please hold your applause until all are introduced. Lauren Monet has two guests, Tiffany Egdorf and Andy Arela. Mike Neal has two guests. This is becoming a pattern here. Vince Trinidad. Oh, back here, okay. And Heath O'Quinn. Jeffrey Red has two guests. Natasha Harris with Rotaract and Jen Overmeyer. Okay, and Karen Keith has two guests. Rick Briere in the middle, and Catherine Briere, who is a TU student in rowing. Welcome. Our speaker today has a lot of guests, and he's going to introduce them in a bit, so I just ask that all of his guests please stand en masse right now. Welcome, welcome. And that includes our honorary member, Stead Upham, so I have to introduce him anyway. So welcome, Stead. And we have one visiting Rotarian, Becky Showlin. Oh, what do you know? I got it right. From Club 29 in Oklahoma City. Welcome. Thank you, everybody. Come back soon.
Thank you, Matt. We're blessed today to have a special presentation from one of our members. It's fitting, in my opinion, that we have this presentation in our meeting this time of year with the Martin Luther King Day coming up soon and with Black History Month next month. And as we were preparing for this segment of the program, I couldn't help but think of an important person in my life who always comes to mind when I think or hear of Dr. King. So with a bit of presidential privilege, I'll tell you a little story. Her name was Irene Jackson. She worked for my family. We were not a rich family, but we did have Irene, and she came about 3 times a month. My mom was not a very good housekeeper, and she wasn't. And she was a good cook, but not a great cook. And so my brother and I were always excited when Irene came. She worked side by side with my mom, and frankly, I think Irene showed my mom things hundreds of times that my mom never got. But in any event, she lit up the room like no one could, and my brother and I loved her back, and she loved us greatly. What she really liked to do was cook. I remember she would make chicken and dumplings with lots of black pepper. She made these potatoes called Raggedy Ann potatoes that were about 2/3 bacon grease and 1/3 potatoes. And I have tried for years to duplicate that, always without success. There were times when she was there with us alone, and in those times, she would always talk to my brother and me about Dr. King. She was a poor black lady in Holdenville, Oklahoma, whose husband was an alcoholic, whose children didn't amount to much, and she took time when she was with my brother and me to tell us about Dr. King and what he meant to her. And I knew that she knew that what he did might not necessarily have meant a lot for her life, but she was so full of hope that what he had done and what he had said would change life for future generations of people, and it did. In my high school graduation gift in 1980, she gave me a bath towel. It was a gold, multicolored gold bath towel. I'm confident, I know it wasn't new, I'm confident she took it from her own property and gave it to me. I kept it for years and years and years until my wife insisted that I throw it away, but it was a very treasured gift. In 1985, at the death of my last grandparent, we went to the funeral at the Holdenville First Baptist Church, and I was with the family parade as we walked in after everybody else had been seated, and it was a church full of white people except for Irene, and she was the first person I saw. She was sitting at the back of the church, sort of by herself, which was a little bit of a snapshot of her life. In any event, she is a great memory of mine. I do remember some of the things she told me about Dr. King, and I'm looking very forward to this presentation from Phil Armstrong. So come on up, Phil. Thank you very much.
To President Jeff, our honored guests, and my fellow Rotarians, good afternoon. Friday, January the 15th, and Monday, January the 18th, will mark the 88th birthday and 33rd national holiday observance of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Over the past few years, I have had the distinct honor of presenting several motivational talks and business seminars for companies and their employees, for colleges, for elementary and high school students on the concept of service, utilizing some of the teachings in the life of Dr. King. In light of our club's adoption of diversity and inclusion initiatives, and as led by our president, today is an appropriate time to share with this club some of his speeches. Dr. King is most notable for his powerful and allegorical I Have a Dream speech, but my favorite is a lesser-known sermon delivered on February the 4th, 1968, 2 months to the day before he was assassinated, and it's called The Drum Major Instinct. In this speech, Dr. King spoke of the instinctual desire we all have to be the one out front, the leader, the desire to be the drum major leading the marching band down the street. Yet he reminds his listeners that is not how he wanted to be remembered. It is not the person out front that is to be admired, but the one that chooses to serve others that is the mark of true leadership. In our club's quest of service above self, please allow these words from Dr. King to resonate in our hearts and minds and become a guiding principle of how we as Rotarians want to be remembered in our respective communities. The drum major instinct. Every now and then I think about that day when we will be victimized by what is known as life's final common denominator. That's something we call death. Every now and then I think about my own death. I think about my own funeral. I don't think about it in a morbid sense. Every now and then I wonder what it is that I would want said. And so I leave the word with you this morning. If any of you are around when I have to meet my day, I don't want a long funeral. And if you get somebody to give the eulogy, tell them not to talk too long. Tell them not to mention that I have a Nobel Peace Prize. That's not important. Tell them not to mention that I have 300 or 400 other awards. That's not important. Tell them not to mention where I went to school. I'd like for somebody to say on that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to give his life serving others. I'd like for somebody to say that I tried to visit those who were in prison. I'd like for somebody to say I tried to feed those who were hungry. I'd like for somebody to say I tried to clothe those who were naked. I want somebody to say that I tried to love and serve humanity. Yes, if you want to call me a drum major, call me a drum major for justice. Call me a drum major for peace. Call me a drum major for righteousness. And all of the other shallow things will not matter. I won't have any money to leave behind. I won't have the fine and luxurious things of life to leave behind. But I want to leave a committed life behind. And that's all I have to say. If I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or a song, if I can show someone they're doing wrong, then my living is not in vain. Dr. Martin Luther King.
Thanks again, Phil. I was hoping you were just kind of getting started. For our phones out, take notes segment, I hope you'll mark these upcoming programs in your calendars or on your phone, etc., where there's notepads on your tables. Next week, we'll have a takeover by our Rotaract Club. The president of Rotaract, Brooke Estevez, will preside over our meeting after she's introduced by Chairman of the Board, Hannibal Johnson. And our speaker will be Bob Carpenter, who's a national sports broadcaster and also the voice of a couple of pretty prominent college teams. So make sure to be here next week. And Brooke will have a nice presentation about Rotaract, what it's about, and what their goals are, et cetera. So look forward to that. And then one important upcoming program I want to mention on February 17th, Samantha Isler, who happens to be related to one of our fantastic past presidents, Linda Bradshaw, who will be our Rotarian of the Day. We're very excited to hear about her acting career, and she's a local high school student who is really doing great. So make sure to be here on that day if you can. Okay, a reminder of our committee meetings. Several. We're a busy group, aren't we? I'm not even going to read all of those. Just note that if you're on one of those committees above and beyond the board, Camp Enterprise, Fireside, IBO Awards, or the Yearling Project, you have meetings today, and your meeting place is up there on the board. And if you're still confused after the meeting, check with somebody from the office and they'll tell you where to go. All right, Alicia, who are we recognizing today as sponsors for this week?
Lots of sponsors today. Rhonda Renz and T.C. Blair with Spirit Bank, Trudy Sweeten with the BOK Center, Casey King with Doubletree by Hilton, and Jeff Hassel, Paul Rossler, Paul Johnson, Donald Kyle, and Richard Gable from Gable Golf Ball. So thank you very much to our sponsors. We appreciate you very much. Our club relies on you, and please always seek your fellow Rotarian first if they have a service that you're in seek of.
So just a little membership moment for a second. I don't know how many of you noticed there are 5 persons from my law firm that are Rotarians. So if you think one is enough, Rotarians from your company, think again. Is Scott Petty here? Well, I will say this anyway. We were all saddened to hear the announcement that Petty's will be closing. And let's all go for one last hurrah and get baskets full of groceries as fast as we can. I'm sure we all have great memories, and if you see Scott, tell him some of those great memories. I'm sure he'll love to hear about all that. Other announcements: condolences to Gary McCall on the passing of his mother, Elise. Cards are on your tables for extending messages of sympathy to Gary and the family. Congratulations to Jerry and Thomas Barrientos on the January 4th birth of their new child, Thomas Andrew. So I believe Jerry is on a leave of absence right now for obvious reasons. And we haven't never had a crying baby problem here, have we? Maybe we should try that. In any event, if and when you see Jerry again, make sure and tell her congratulations. All right, we have an important piece of club business to address. It was spoken of briefly by Del Dreyer in our last meeting. As stated in our previous notices, the club's bylaws and constitution have been updated by the Long Range Planning Committee to comply with Rotary International guidelines and to address a few other items. The Board of Directors subsequently approved those changes and is recommending it for approval by the membership. There being a quorum present today, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the restated bylaws and constitution that were previously circulated to the members. Do I have such a motion? All right, do I have a second? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Great, thank you very much, and we'll show that those are approved. I want to thank the Long Range Planning Committee and its chair, Del Dreyer. The committee is Del, Tom Klinda, John O'Connor, Brenda Melancon, Bob McKenzie, and Tom Byers. Make sure and thank them if you see them. And a special thanks to Tom Klinda for helping draft and for his great legal skills, which are always much appreciated. So thank you again, everybody. All right, Bill, Richard, you're next to tell us a little bit about a Club Foundation gift.
Thank you, President Jeff. Good afternoon. Let's have some, there you go, wake up out there, gang. You know, one of the great benefits of serving on the Grants Committee is that you get to see that there are so many organizations in Tulsa that are working to help people and working to make Tulsa a better place. And that's a real reward to see that happen. Today we are awarding one of those organizations, Good Samaritan Health Services, $1,195, and here to tell us how it's going to be used is Rotarian and founder, Dr. John Crouch. John.
Good Samaritan Health Services was developed expressly and specifically to try to help to meet the needs of the underserved population for health care in the greater Tulsa area. We do that through 2 basic ways, one of which is by use of mobile medical vans that go right into the community of need, and secondly, by partnering with churches. Churches are wonderful in that they provide volunteers that we train to help us process and take care of the patients. And in addition to that, the churches, most of them, are helping to financially support us, as well as the churches begin to wrap their compassion ministries around the other needs of the patient besides the healthcare needs itself. So it's really been a very good partnership, and we reach many, many people that way. Right now, the Good Samaritan Health Services is in 12 different sites around the greater Tulsa community. Number 13, number 14 are under consideration right now. In addition to those kinds of sites, what we also do is we're involved in doing women's health care. We partner with Project Woman, where we go and do health care for the underserved women that don't get their health checkups. And quite honestly, by working with Project Woman, do mammograms and we get those things done. We've discovered like 5 breast cancers in the last several months that really needed to be found. So some very, very good projects that we're doing. In addition to that, we also are right now in the midst of developing men's health clinics as well as doing some retinal screening project for the underserved population. As you well know, the underserved population has an increased frequency of diabetes among them, and the diabetics often are the ones that go blind because they don't have health care services available for screening their retinas. So we're in the midst of developing that project as well. Just going to wrap it up by saying that we're in over 50 clinics a month around the greater Tulsa area, and we're in those places on a very regular basis. One of the things that happens with Good Samaritan Health Services is we are able to see patients that sometimes would otherwise go to the emergency room. So this last year, conservative estimate is we've probably taken care of well over 500 patients who would have gone to the emergency room otherwise. You may know that emergency room patient is going to cost the hospital and or whoever somewhere north of $1,000, $1,100, $1,200 per one patient visit. Our cost per visit is about $120. So it's a real tremendous savings. This EKG machine that they're helping us to buy is now for our third mobile medical van that we have, and that'll help us to take care of the cardiovascular complaints of some of our patients and be able to take care of them well. So thank you, fellow Rotarians.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Bill. And we'll have some other check presentations over the next few weeks. All right, Tricia Kirkstra will be here to tell us about our great opportunity coming up to get to know some real young movers and shakers.
Thank you, President Jeff. As many of you know, not this Friday, but next Friday, we have 200 of our Youth Exchange students coming to Tulsa for the weekend. They're going to be part of our conference, our annual Youth Exchange Conference. So we're looking for host families on Friday night. On Saturday night, the students are taken care of by the Sand Springs Club. They do an all-night lock-in. I love the Sand Springs Club for doing that. So we just need a little bit of help. Right now, we have, of the 200 students, we've got 130 of the students placed. So that means we need about 30, 35 more families to take care of these other 70 students. Pick them up at the hotel at your leisure, Friday afternoon, early evening. Feed them dinner. They do come with appetites. Teenagers. They also come with their own sleeping bags. So you don't have to have a bed, just clean floor. And then on Saturday morning, take them around town, do something. If they're living in a small town in America and you have girls, just take them to the mall. That's all they want to do. The other students might want to do something else. But bring them back to the hotel by 1:30. So it's not even 24 hours. Host 2 or more students in your home. There's a sheet on your table. Just fill it out. We'll pick them up after the meeting or come see me afterwards. We really could use your help. This is a way for you to engage in citizen diplomacy. It's a big deal. And I mean, just your life will be enriched just from that one night from these students. I can guarantee it. And you do not have to be a Rotarian for all our TU visitors who are here. We do have some TU families who help us out. So you don't have to be a Rotarian, just someone who wants to open your home that night for one night. Thank you very much.
Tricia mentioned the kids come with an appetite and a sleeping bag. They also come with stories. And my family and I still talk to this day about the young lady from Moldova who spent a night with us and regaled us with stories of the real Count Dracula. It was quite interesting. So you never know what you might hear. So I encourage you to do that. All right, Mr. Rudd, you are up next to tell us about a very exciting opportunity for, what, in a couple of weeks?
A couple of weeks. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians, friends, and to you, friends. Good to see you here today. Our next event is going to be co-hosted with the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, as well as Social and Service Committee. It will be at the Tulsa Historical Society on Tuesday night, January 26th. A really unique opportunity for us to see Boomtown, a legend, an American journey. Thanks, Michelle. And in addition, thank you, Michelle, for hosting us that evening. I hope you all can make it. We have over 40 attending. Tickets are $20 and include appetizers, wine, and President Jeff's favorite beer.
Don't be scared of that. Actually, I like lots of different kinds of beer, so it won't be weird stuff. And I believe also Chairman Hannibal Johnson will lead a little discussion after the movie. Is that right? Yes, I see a thumb up. So, if nothing else, soak in a little knowledge from Hannibal, who is undoubtedly one of the smartest people in the room, so I encourage you to come. All right, Alicia, it's always exciting when the Sergeant-at-Arms approaches the microphone.
I think you mean that sincerely, don't you?
I do.
Good afternoon. Let's see. You all should have received an email yesterday regarding the Rotary license plate. So we're having a silent auction through the rest of this week, so it'll close on Friday. We are currently at $1,000. So is Sandra Mullins here? Oh, Sandra, that keeps outbidding me. So we're at $1,000. So you can email myself or the office. There's also sign-up forms outside, so thank you very much to Charles for donating this to our
And this
club.
is the official Oklahoma license plate that says Rotary, right?
Absolutely. The official Oklahoma license plate, you'll be the only one, and once you win the silent auction, Charles has coordinated with the Oklahoma Tax Commission to get the ownership transferred over to you so you can put it on your vehicle. It's fantastic. The money will be split between our local foundation and then our international foundation as well. So that's where we're at. If you all did not see former Sarge Martin Keating last week, this is the fine for not having your name badge. He was forced to wear a high-vis jacket and pay me $30. So we're going to keep that going. Thank you, Martin, very, very much. We had a very super charming and handsome mystery man that donated $20 to our local foundation, so thank you very, very much.
How much?
What'd I say?
$20.
2,000. You guys always catch that. 2,000. I'm sorry to the charming sir that I just offended. 2,000. I went to OSU,
Alicia,
Jeff.
you know, they say that $100 bills are the currency of drug dealers. Are you been dealing with too many $100 bills?
$2,100 bills. Thank you for that. Okay. Gary McCall and his lovely bride celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary, combined with Gary's 39 years in Rotary, and their birthdays together make 140. I don't know how that makes Gary, but the total was $229. So Gary, thank you so very, very much, and congratulations on your anniversary. I'm sorry. Tom Wolf and his lovely wife, Kimberly, and daughter, Rachel, donated $500 from their family to water wells, and that was matched by One Oak. So it was $1,000 for a water well. So, Tom, thank you so much.
Great.
Rotary Club of Tulsa's funniest Super Bowl commercials of all time.
This is your first time here ever. This is our Super Bowl commercial competition. There are 2 jars on your table. The first commercial is the blue jar, and the second one is the yellow jar. So put money in the jar of the commercial that you love the most. Our first commercial is the winner of our December 2nd competition, and it is kind of highlights that no matter how bad business gets, it's always okay to have a little fun.
Hey guys, just thought you might want to know, sales aren't up, they're down. Yes, sir.
Want a new job? We've got the most. CareerBuilder.com.
That is the blue jar, and it is up against my favorite, our little E-Trade baby.
A lot of people are like, aren't you too young to invest in the markets? And, you know, A, don't worry about it. You know, I just look young. I mean, you don't know how old I am. And B, I use E-Trade, so check it. Click. I just bought stock. You just saw me buy stock. No big deal. I mean, you know, if I can do it, you can do it. Whoa.
It's so easy. There
That's
are 1,000 new accounts a
disgusting.
day at E-Trade.
That is the yellow jar, so please, thank you all very, very much. Thank you, President Jeff.
Thank you, Alicia. All right, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce our Rotarian of the day, Mike Knopp. Mike is the head rowing coach at Oklahoma City University, and he brought the sport to that school, I understand. He's also the executive director of the Oklahoma City Boathouse Foundation. He's the driving force behind the Oklahoma Regatta that brings more than 50,000 to Oklahoma City each year and is bringing the official Olympic training site to the Oklahoma River. Mike's been a member of Club 29 in Oklahoma City for 8 years and has served as secretary and sergeant at arms. Please welcome our special guest, Rotarian of the Day, Mike Knopp, to introduce our speaker.
Well, it's great to be here. You guys have fun here. Boy, I got to take some of this back, so this is great. It's great to be here, and it's really great to be here to introduce my friend, Coach Kevin Harris. You know, 2002 stands out for me for a number of reasons. One of those reasons, really, Coach Harris has in common with Rotary, in fact. Let me explain. So, in 2002, our little river in Oklahoma City was not much more than a ditch. I mean, to put it lightly, we lovingly said we mowed it 3 times a year, and that was very true. And at that time, I was practicing law. I was not coaching. I mean, I was coaching as a volunteer, and I knew Kevin through rowing, through the sport. If you've read his bio, he's got a great, he's done a lot of great things, but he coached at Kansas State University as an assistant coach, which is where I met Kevin, I believe, but it was a while back. But we did know each other, and I was really excited when Kevin was named the head coach of the University of Tulsa women's rowing program. And at that time, University of Tulsa was the only university in the state of Oklahoma to have a varsity rowing program, a real leader in the sport. And I always aspired to see some of that move down the turnpike to Oklahoma City. And so Kevin, he came to Oklahoma City several times, and that was one of the great things I really appreciate about our relationship is we really, even though people say there's this little rivalry between Oklahoma City and Tulsa, we have to stand together in the sport because we're really trying to make a name for Oklahoma in the sport of rowing and to really position ourselves as a respected, region in that sport. And so Kevin came to the river, and I had to show him, some of my dreams about what we were going to try to accomplish. And again, it was a ditch. And my friend told me I was crazy. So, but, that same 2002, I also had the great fortune of speaking to Rotary Club of Oklahoma City, Club 29, about my vision for the Oklahoma River and a boathouse. And they, too, like to tell me they thought I was crazy back then. And, things have changed and things have evolved. I've never thought you were crazy, by the way. But in the last, we've both kind of, what was ironic is the very next year I did follow in Kevin's footsteps and became the first head coach for Oklahoma City University, that private school down the turnpike in Oklahoma City. And we really got to know each other better. We were rivals, but really friends, and really helped, again, grow the sport. And, time has flown by, but now in Oklahoma City, we like to say that ditch has turned into a world-class venue and a boathouse district development that has kind of pulled me a little out of coaching now, but still very much involved in the sport. And I always appreciate Kevin's support every year coming to the head of the Oklahoma and has seen it grow and evolve over time. But I want to say this, I could read his bio, and I encourage you to do so because very accomplished coach. And, one thing I was noticing here, I'm going to pick on you for just a second here. So we have 256 first place finishes. That's really, medaled in 579 boats at 122 regattas. But who's counting, Kevin? Gosh, I mean, but I think that is I think a testimony to his ability as a coach. He's taken a boat to a gold medal at the head of the Charles. And one thing I remember very clearly just a few months ago at our head of the Oklahoma, he beat OU. So there's a lot of great things about Kevin's coaching career that I could go on and on about. But You know, I like to say this, and I say that what's really special and I think important about the sport, and I think Kevin will, I'm sure, touch on this, is the young men and women we bring into the sport, and the character that Kevin has really developed for this program is really well known. And I've experienced that in a few ways. Number one, when I was coaching, my wife and I started this program in Oklahoma City. We had some young rowers before we had anything to offer in Oklahoma City who came to the University of Tulsa. One of those young ladies came and really flourished here, has nothing but great things to say about her experience. And she came on to work for me as we developed this organization and has become a leader in our organization. Tremendous young lady, and I think she owes a lot of that to her experience being coached by you, Kevin. We've also had athletes since we've built that little ditch up to become, we've become an Olympic training site. We're actually the only river in the country to, not to boast, but to become an Olympic training center with the Olympic rings. And as a result, we've been able to offer opportunities to young men and women who row in college. And again, it's kind of gone the other way, where one of Kevin's athletes, tremendous young lady, has come to Oklahoma City to pursue her Olympic dream, and to see her experience and her from being coached by you, Kevin, has really been inspiring. So through those years, we've also have in common having grown families, you know, at the same time, and I'm a little ahead of you. I've got 3 boys, and Kevin's got an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old, and great family. And I'm very proud to have been asked to come and introduce my friend Kevin here. We have had to stand together to grow the sport. The sport has really changed in the last 15 years, and Oklahoma's position with respect to the sport. Tulsa has been a big part of Oklahoma City's rise as a training center and a rowing destination through a lot of different means. And I thank Kevin, and it's my honor and privilege to introduce Kevin here this morning.
Mike's a little taller than I am. Wow, thank you. Thank you for making the trip up from Oklahoma City to give that talk. Mike is a fantastic example of how one motivated individual can bring together the companies, the nonprofits, the educational institutions into a synergy that can create just a wonderful thing that he's done down there at Oklahoma City. And if you haven't been down to the Oklahoma River now, because he got it changed in Oklahoma City as opposed to being in the North Canadian, I encourage you to go down there and take a look and really see what's going on down at the Boathouse District there in Oklahoma City. I want to thank the Downtown Club for inviting me today. Really appreciate the chance to come and talk with you. Before I get too far into the weeds about this whole rowing thing, I want to introduce a few people. We've already had some people stand up. Obviously, our big boss is here, Dr. Stedman Upham, who is just a tremendous human being, and we appreciate you coming. Kevin Buck, who is Vice President at the University of Tulsa. Susan Neal, who we're going to be working with tomorrow, as a matter of fact, to raise money for the True Blue Neighbors program at the University of Tulsa. That's going to be a big deal for us as a rowing team, and we've raised some funds for Kendall Whittier through that program, elementary school. I would certainly want to give some praise to Barbara Allen, who is our trustee in charge of the athletics committee at the University of Tulsa and has been a true supporter of rowing the whole time that rowing has been at Tulsa. Got to give some love to my direct boss, Dr. Derek Gregg, who I know has stood on this dais before. He's a great speaker, and he's a tough one to follow, so I gotta try and keep up our end. And then, of course, my wonderful staff, Rodney Mott, who's our head lightweight coach. He coaches the women who are 130 pounds or less, but he's also in charge of all of our equipment, which is a lot for rowing. Assistant coach Carrie Hassel, she speaks with kind of a funny accent. She's from Great Britain by way of Washington State, and she's a fantastic recruiting coordinator. Very excited to have her on staff. She's done a fantastic job these last 6 months. Ariel Toulouse, who is our graduate assistant coach, is a graduate of the University of Tulsa. Actually, her classmate, Catherine Briere, is back there hanging out with her daddy. Good to see you, Catherine. And Ariel also spent 2 years teaching in the Tulsa Public Schools before she came back to be our graduate assistant at Tulsa. So I definitely want to highlight that. And we're going to hopefully keep her around for a little while. And then sitting next to her is associate head coach Richard Ruggieri. Richard comes to us from Clemson, from Louisville, and from the U.S. national team. And he's been a great addition to our staff and has just done tremendous things for us. Last but not least, gotta name the most important player, Jennifer Lynn Bush Harris, my wife, Dr. Bush Harris, who is also a graduate of the University of Tulsa. She earned her PhD at Tulsa and works for a little independent oil producer up in Bartlesville named ConocoPhillips. So just want to thank all of you, and I know I've forgotten, sorry, Brian Sislo is there, Associate Athletic Director, has done great support work for the University of Tulsa. TJ is sitting there right next to him. If I've forgotten anyone, it's not because I don't want to, I just have some other things I got to get to here. I thought we'd start this whole talk off with a little video. I wanted to, if we could just show a little bit of the racing video. What you're going to see here is Tulsa at the San Diego Crew Classic in 2011. And I wanted to give everyone a sense of what it's like to be in a race. If you could turn
University of Alabama. Lane 2, University of Tulsa. Lane 3, University of British Columbia. In lane 4, Bates College. And in lane 5, Southern Methodist University. The wind is dissipated down here. It's absolutely calm. SMU coxswain and bow woman has their hands up, indicating they're not ready to go. The aligner's flag is up. Attention, go. And we have a start for the women's collegiate varsity Heat C. All crews away without incident. Very close, as you can see on the Jumbotron. The shore side, Crimson Tide, takes the early lead, 2 seats up on the Golden Hurricanes of the University of Tulsa. Third spot, Bates College. Fourth position, UBC. And trailing is Southern Methodist University. 250 meters gone. You can throw a blanket over the first 3 crews. University of Tulsa now takes the lead. Alabama in that second spot, 2 seats down. Third position, the Bobcats from Bates College. Fourth, SMU. And the Thunderbirds from UBC are in that 5th position. University of Tulsa now opens about a 3-seat lead.
Inside, it's Bates College. All the way to the outside, Southern Methodist and the University of British Columbia is trailing. Tulsa, dark jerseys, second lane out from the shoreline here. And they broke into the lead at about 500 meters into the race and have clung to that lead so far. Alabama staying with them stroke for stroke. And then outside, Bates College beginning to make a bit of a challenge, but only half-heartedly it appears. Southern Methodist on the outside and the University of British Columbia struggling in this one. This is Tulsa, dark jerseys. Outside, the red jerseys, crimson I should say, of the University of Alabama. Then outside to Bates College. All crews seem to be content with their position at this time, but just as I said that, Tulsa began to pick it up, as did Alabama. Alabama beginning to make a move along the shoreline. This is Tulsa trying to hang on. They only have about a 5-seat lead at this time. Tulsa with Alabama challenging along the side, then some open water back to Bates College, then a lot of open water back to Southern Methodist and the University of British Columbia. Tulsa responding as Alabama tries to close some water length there. Alabama continues to stroke along the shoreline, and now it looks like they've ratcheted back into just finishing up, as it apparently will be unofficially the University of Tulsa on the first spot. Alabama will be coming in second. This is Bates College.
Always love that.
Nailing down the unofficial third position. On the outside is Southern Methodist University, and British Columbia is trailing.
By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but actually Ariel was in that boat, so that's one reason why I picked that particular video. But I think, rather than have me stand up here and try and describe to you what it's like in a race, and understand you've now just seen about not quite half of the length of a race, you see the effort that goes into what we do as rowers at the University of Tulsa. You see the absolute commitment that the young women who we recruit or bring to the University of Tulsa to row are putting into their sport every single day. There's a quote that we repeat very often in rowing that came to mind as I was watching that, and it's, "Sweet is the pleasure after pain." It's a sport that requires every ounce of your energy to make a boat do that. And what you're seeing, by the way, that's a race in April. You're seeing basically 7 months of work that these women have put in to get to a point of where they can race that race in under 6 minutes and 40 seconds. And the length of one of our races is right at about 1.25 miles. So you can do the math on that. I have been the rowing coach at the University of Tulsa for 14 years, and it has been my great privilege to be the head coach at the University of Tulsa. It's been, without a doubt, besides marrying my wonderful wife, one of the best things that I've ever done as a human being on this earth. I feel like I've been called up to the big leagues, right? I get to talk before the downtown Rotary Club today. I've talked to a few of the Rotary Clubs around eastern Oklahoma, but this is my first time, getting to bat first, so to speak. There's a couple things that always kind of come up whenever I talk at some of the great civic organizations that we have. And usually, and I suspect some of you had this morning when you got up and said, "Hey, I'm going to go see my friends at the Rotary Club," and you looked at the schedule and you went, "Oh, the rowing coach." Yeah, usually it would be maybe Frank or Philip up here, maybe Matilda, our women's basketball coach. But today you get me. And, there's the questions that often come up usually go something like this. I didn't know Tulsa had a rowing team. How long has Tulsa had a rowing team? Where do they practice? Why is it only women? And how good are they? Well, I think I partially answered some of that last question anyway. The rest of it takes a little bit of context. So we just celebrated our 20th year as a sport at the University of Tulsa. And as I said, I have been the head coach now for 14 years, so you can do the math on that one. Believe it or not, I am the 5th head coach that this university has had. So, when I was hired back in 2002, I think that they were looking for a little bit of stability, and I'm really glad to have been the person that was picked to do that. I think, the context of why we have a rowing team at Tulsa is pretty simple. Dr. Lawless was the president of the University of Tulsa back in '95 when the team was started. Judy McLeod was the athletic director, and of course we had a great chairman of the Board of Trustees named Fulton Collins, who most of you I'm sure are acquainted with. And at the time, quite frankly, we didn't have enough representation in athletics for women. And there was a team rowing in a club called the Tulsa Rowing Club down at Festival Park that's still there. And the University of Tulsa had a club of women rowing out of that rowing club. And the Board of Trustees and the president decided that rowing would be the sport, one of the sports that was added to help create opportunities for women in athletics at the University of Tulsa. But there's even a greater context to this as to why. The other thought was, we have a top 50 university here at 11th and Harvard at the University of Tulsa. Dr. Lawless saw that. Dr. Upham has been working his butt off to make sure that we get to that position of being one of the top universities in the nation. We don't want to be just a great regional university. We don't want to be a good school in the state of Oklahoma. We want to be a national university that makes the city of Tulsa proud, that attracts people to the city, that gives back to the city that sponsors us. The only way to do that, thank you. The only way to do that is to bring high caliber faculty, to create a campus that people want to see, they want to go to. And for those of you who've lived here for a long time, you know that that campus looks way different than it did even 10 years ago. And you have to have students who are high caliber. You have to have men and women coming to the school who understand that school is about school, that you come to be a part of the academy, that you come to perform and then go off into the world and do great things. And that's what the people who brought rowing to the University of Tulsa understood, and that's what Dr. Lawless, Dr. Gregg understand about rowing now. Why do we have rowing at Tulsa? It's actually pretty simple. Because we attract women from all over the United States and all over the world. Since I've been head coach at Tulsa, we've had women from Boston, Seattle, San Diego, Miami, and everywhere in between. They come from as far away as Christchurch, New Zealand. We just had a woman join the team this semester from New Zealand, who is going to be an absolute wonderful addition to our team, and as close to home as Jenks, USA. We have women who come to this team who average right around 27 on their ACT. Now, I want you to think about that for just a minute, okay? 27 on the ACT for the athletes coming into the University of Tulsa. That's where we start, all right? I want to say this as well. Most of the women who come to row at the University of Tulsa are coming because it's a high-quality academic institution, but what makes the difference for them is the fact that there is a rowing team there. After 20 years of performing, after 20 years of bringing students to the university, what we've seen is a steady growth in the number of athletes who are looking at Tulsa, not only from in the United States, but from around the world. You know, my wonderful recruiting coordinator found us 2 women from Great Britain who will be coming to the university next fall. She found us an Italian who will be coming to the university next fall. It's very possible that we're going to have an Israeli American coming to the university next fall. And these are women that we didn't necessarily go out and find. They're all fantastic women, all of whom, by the way, may be representing their national teams very soon. These are women who saw what we have at Tulsa and decided that this was a place where they wanted to come and be student athletes. We have rowing at Tulsa because the rowers perform. The grade point average for my team, and I am incredibly proud of this, last semester was a 3.45. I got nothing to do with it. For those of you who haven't done grade point averages in a while, that's a B+. And that's 0.05 of a point from being an A. And that's the kind of excellence that I'm talking about when I talk about the student athletes who come to the University of Tulsa. And the good news is, you know, we're not really alone in that, because I think women's tennis was right behind us. But here's the difference. There's only 8 people on the women's tennis team. I wish Vince were here to hear that. There's 54 women on the rowing team at the University of Tulsa. Okay? So To say that I'm proud of the women who come to Tulsa and do this work is an understatement. To have 54 women performing at that level at a school like the University of Tulsa is a pretty tremendous thing. And, it shows a lot of why there is rowing at Tulsa. Another reason is these women give back. 1,200 hours is the average amount of community service that our team does in the community. Habitat for Humanity, Boys and Girls Club. They go into the different schools around the city. And I'm really proud of the way that the women have taken that on because, again, that's not something that I ever told them that they had to do. It's something that the team created. They actually elect 2 people on the team every year to coordinate all of the volunteering that they do. And it's a pretty amazing thing to see. I looked the other day at just how much money the team has actually raised for different charities around the city. And you know that we, in the last 10 years, are over $60,000 between Habitat for Humanity, and for the True Blue neighbors at the University of Tulsa. The women have really actively gone out and sought these things and give back. That's why we have rowing at Tulsa. Oh, yeah, they're pretty good too. All of you here, I'm guessing, are fans of Tulsa, even if you didn't graduate from Tulsa, if for just a reason, that you live here, just like I'm a fan of Oklahoma when they're not playing Tulsa. If someone walked up to you and said, hey, at that little university over there on 11th and Harvard, there's a team that in the last 2 years has beaten Texas, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Kansas, Kansas State, I don't want to just pick on the Big 12, Iowa, Alabama, Temple, UConn, Villanova, and that's just some of the teams that they've beaten, right? If they said, oh, hey, last year they went to England and they defeated Oxford. Yeah, we did that. That was fun. You'd look at your friend and you'd say, hey, that's a pretty good team. What team is that? Well, pretty simply, it's the women's rowing team at Tulsa. That's who we are. I love being the coach at the University of Tulsa. I love working here. I love it when my friends ask me, so Kev, when are you going to come back? I'm from Washington, D.C. originally. And I look at them and I say, I don't plan on coming back. And when they say why, I say, well, have you ever been to Tulsa? And invariably the answer is no. By the way, I forgot one thing that I wanted to mention. Michael was great in saying it. We have 7 women that we've sent to compete for the United States of America in the last 4 years on various world championship teams. 2 of them currently, today, are competing for spots on Olympic teams. So Michelle Sexture, who trained down at the Oklahoma Boathouse Center, has been on the national team for the United States 4 times, and this is her chance to go to Rio. So we're all pulling for her. And then Zoe Fleischman, who is a dual citizen of Argentina and the United States, is down in Argentina right now trying for the Olympic team. So we may have, there's a very good possibility that we're going to have 2 Tulsa rowers at the Olympics in 2016. Okay, I apologize. I think I'm a little bit over. I want to finish this talk by saying thank you to the Tulsa Rotary Club. I do have another video which shows what the athletes themselves think of their team. It was made, by the way, by one of our rowers, Leah Selesky, who is a senior communications major. If anybody's looking for someone who needs a job, I got her. Speak to me afterward. But I'm happy to take questions after the video.
Early morning rows when the sun is rising. The water is glass, misty air fills your lungs. You're sitting in this tiny vessel, only as wide as your hips. Your teammates, your closest friends surround you, just as glossy-eyed and purple-lipped as you are. The only sound is the occasional command from your coxswain, the coach's launch motor humming in the distance, the oarlocks thud in unison. You watch your breath fog your view of the sweaty ponytail swaying in front of you. Water moves under the boat. It's a dream. Most people are still sleeping, and you're 2 hours into a workout. This is beautiful. This is serene. This is impossible and extreme and insane and amazing. This is our sport. The one for the crazies, the masochists, the never sleepers. The girl leaving her 50-minute class 3 times to go pee. This isn't for the weak, but the strongest of the strong. The modest, the ones who know glory comes from within, and that the greatest victories happen when you beat your own personal record. Sure, we're stubborn. We want to quit, and we think about it when the alarm goes off at 4:15 in the morning. But snooze isn't an option. We walk to the bus. We accept no compromise. We do what we need to do, and we take nothing less than we deserve. We work for ourselves, selfish in the desire to be as fast as we can be, selfless enough to pull for the girl behind us. We know our self-worth and believe in ourselves. Rowing cannot be equated to any other sport because there is no other sport that compares mentally, physically, and on some level, spiritually. Here we are among the outstanding minority, the overachievers, the believers, the seers, and the only ones who understand the beauty behind those blood blisters. We all row for different reasons. Some of us are so passionate about rowing, and others can't honestly say that they've fallen in love with the sport. Some of us fell in love with the team. Rowing at TU forced us to be on our game in all aspects of life at all times. The fight for the seat is more valuable than the seat itself, and the journey is more valuable than certain outcomes. Luckily for us, our journey doesn't end when we graduate. Some of us will go on to join national teams, others will get married to their college sweethearts, but no matter what happens in this life, we know we'll have a rowing sisterhood to carry us through it all. The friendships we make through this sport are deeper and more lasting than any other. The team feels like family. There's no way we could put this into words, but our college experiences would be so much different had we not rowed. Thank you to all the women who came before, who have paved the way to making this the 20th anniversary of Tulsa women's rowing. We can't imagine what it was like, but in what we have now, we are reminded of all the sacrifices you made, and we thank you for that. One team, one goal, one family, for many years to come.
I told the coach we'd do one question, so.
I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has. But by the way, we are going to hopefully very soon build a new boathouse. So if anyone is feeling like they want to support these wonderful women, I'm sure Dr. Upham or Dr. Gregg would love to talk to you about it afterward. Any questions? Yes, ma'am. It will actually be in Catoosa. We row in Catoosa. I failed to mention that because we moved out as the water started to recede in the Arkansas. But yeah, we will be building a brand new boathouse in Catoosa, hopefully within the next year. So, yes, ma'am. Yeah, I anticipated that question. I would say we'd love to do that. The problem is that the impoundment that is created by Zinc Lake is not actually big enough for a rowing team at Division I. Where we row in Catoosa is actually right at the port of Catoosa. Bob Portis has been a fantastic supporter of having us out there, and it's 18 miles of water. We can't really replicate that in the Arkansas right now. We'd love to. We'd love to move back downtown, but until the hydrodynamics of the river are better, it's going to be really hard for us to do that. So, anyway, oh, sorry, one more. Yes, sir. I think, yeah, I think he's coming back in June to tell you all about that. I'd like to know too. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
If you happen to have other questions, Coach said he would stick around after the meeting, so come on up and ask. A book recognizing today's program will be presented to our partner in education school, Celia Clinton. There it is right there, Coach. I am Rosa Parks. If you'll put a little message to the kids there on the front cover, we'd really appreciate it. Take a look at our list of volunteers for today and make sure and thank one or more of them as you leave the room. And I encourage you to go tell your friends, family, and colleagues about the University of Tulsa's great rowing team and their great rowing coach, Kevin Harris. We are adjourned.